Thank you all. Great presentations. One of the best things of being last is I get a chance to adapt my speech to everybody else's speeches. A lot of things have already been said. I come from the ICT world, from the telecoms world. I come from the IoT world. I come from the energy world. And now I'm working in VirtuGrp, where I'm responsible for the IoT business. In IoT today, we're working with smart meters, with energy metering in primarily Australia. And then we are now launching 2 more practices. One is for the facilities practice, and another one is actually farming. There's a lot of players out in the IoT world. There's a lot of players out in the facilities world as well. And why do I choose to put my head into that type of a business? And it's because there are still a lot of things to be needed to be done and said. And what we see most of it is that when people are talking and making speeches like this, we're talking to maybe the investors or media or the CEOs of the world. And stepping out of the big corporate world, I've started to realize that there's a lot of complexity out in the IoT world. And especially in facilities, one of the facilities that we're working for, there's 2 big statements they're saying. My energy bill this year was 900,000 Swedish crowns. Next year is going to be 3 million Swedish crowns. I need to do something. Another statement is I have so much information in my building, but I don't know what to do with it. And this is where we're positioning ourselves, is little bit of looking at what are the real needs beyond all of the big facilities owners, even the smaller and medium-sized facility owners. What is it that you have? What is it that you need? And then these words have already been said. We need to increase the comfort. It's the air quality as such. The footprint has been talked about, but it's becoming more and more important. We talk about energy footprint. We talk about CO2 footprint. And if you look at what's happening in the financial communities, there's going to be problems with the interest rates. There's going to be problems with getting loans if you don't have a solid story on your footprint. And last but not least, not that much has been spoken about it, but we're talking also to the maintenance people. And what we are really trying to do is basically, out of all of this information, how can you abstract it and get it into a format that actually makes sense? And if you think a parallel would be, if you think about the doctors, when you come to the emergency room, they check your temperature, they check your heartbeat, and then they check your blood pressure. On those 3 parameters, they actually know if you're in trouble or if they're going to be going more and more measurements. And that's the approach we're taking. Take a little bit, start collecting the data, and then focus on important data. And we're putting most of our efforts now on the thresholds. What thresholds? When is the air quality not good enough? When is the energy becoming a problem? We do this by adding sensors. We're looking at more advanced sensors now, particularly those that can actually detect both people and motion. And this is where we're starting and actually keep the GDPR things. So we're talking about a combination, something that can do things that cameras can do without really being a camera, right? And I've mentioned all of this, but I'm also just going to my last slide. Just to keep your time here, I promised to talk about the 5G as well. This slide has been spoken about in different ways, but why we're extremely excited about 5G, end of the day, it's the same parameters that have been said. It's basically that it's licensed spectrum. That has been said lots of times. Security, I don't think it's been talked about enough. You do have the security. You also can have the aspect of having an own network into a system like this. And then what all of this productivity, what it's all about is getting the indoor penetration. So you get the high indoor penetration. But, and then the last thing there, it's that you will have the interaction between the operators and in some cases you might even have private enterprises that are actually owning the spectrum, so-called private dedicated networks and so on. But what we do basically is we are an outcome-based company. We have an IoT capabilities, and we actually are working primarily on getting this combination up and running.
Excellent. Thank you, Miguel. And now we have David and Jesper from Nordic Level Group.